Hey there, welcome back to the Lost Production Files. This is episode 6. Thank you for your patience, as last week we skipped due to having tons of shit going on. Last week was loaded with shit, so that's what's going on. Just to make note real quick, you might notice that my lips are not visible. That's because I recorded this way too late again. Rather than do another ASMR video where I end up cringing for several hours listening to my own stupid goddamn voice, I decided I would record my audio in the garage. I hope this audio doesn't fucking suck. I hope there's not much of an echo. I did not really give this much thought, so that's all I have to say about that. Enjoy the review of our Copperhead Connection pilot script table read by both our table read cast and our friends behind our Lost Production Files series. On to the review.
I have goosebumps because I had to keep looking away and watching everybody in my director mode because I felt that Eliza Kelly is Miss Kelly. I felt Michael was Jack.
Eliza, I thought you were amazing, by the way. I totally second that opinion of like, you are Miss Kelly. I was watching you when your lines would come up and I was like, oh my gosh, this woman gives me fear. Like, she's actually making me scared. What is she capable of?
Each person that read their role, I could see it in my little screen. Everybody did an awesome job with their read tonight. You were in your moment. I could see it in everybody's faces, and it was just a smooth read.
You can see every scene. You can imagine it. It does move really well.
I really think you cut the fat and lean it down so that every scene has a punch to it.
I was caught up in the story, like many others, really getting into it. This is the first time I've been a part of anything like this, but I really enjoyed the dynamics with everybody getting into their roles.
It was interesting to read along and listen at the same time and just be able to really put the scenery together.
It flowed real good. The story kept you engaged.
I worked on a couple of these scenes before, and I like where the scripts come.
There's like a lot of layers, and you have a lot of different people and stuff that people deal with on a variety of planes. So, yeah, it's enjoyable.
I think you've tightened up the script a lot so that it moves quicker. I could see every scene that was being presented, so I had the show playing in my head as we were reading it.
It has this True Detective / Winter's Bone vibes to it, and it always kind of has had it, but now it feels even more like True Detective. It really feels like this big giant wheel that started moving, so it kind of feels like that type of cadence, faster in True Detective, but which makes it even more interesting. So it will make me interested in watching it further.
There's a bit of Ray Donovan to this too.
We're getting these organized crime factions, the Tallahassee boys in the outfit. We don't really know how they interact with each other, but I'm expecting in like the second episode, since they're all together, that we're going to kind of understand that a bit more.
Thinking about episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what is Amy and Charlene's relationship going to be? So.
It grows more. Charlene becomes more and more protective of Amy. In the beginning, she's kind of not so sure about bringing her on. And fairly quickly, because of Teresa and because of Amy protecting Teresa, this is like kind of bonded them.
I grew up in an Irish, Italian, Latino Catholic family. Dads would be the first one to come up and kiss you and embarrass you in front of your friends. Your uncles would do that. And at the same time, they'd be the ones that cut the balls off of anybody who hurt you. And I see some of that in Jack.
My thing is also Irish Catholic, Roman Catholic upbringing. Jack and Charlene's, their Catholicism does play into their morality because it's loosely based off the Cornbread Mafia, a bunch of rural Catholics who ran bootlegging and then they ended up buying marijuana as well. Maybe 10% of it is taken from there or 5%, but then the rest of it's my idea to just expand upon that.
Yeah, I really like Jack and Charlene as characters. There's a fine line between being so hospitable and friendly that you want to be in their families, and you see them doing things that are very violent and kind of frightening and out of context or something. Those two characters are really strong. Charlene's especially strong. It's very interesting how quickly she adopts this other person in. She's already having this other person wear her clothing and take care of their kid.
I think it's just a lot of fun. I think it's got a lot of love and a lot of violence. I think that's what we like about mature storytelling, is people being human beings and being torn between what they're trying to protect and what they're trying to accomplish, and all the pressure from everywhere. People who have more money or more power. I don't know. I like it.
I like the fact that you made Charlene a Latina. I think she's kind of ballsy and cool and tough and stoic.
I'm curious because I knew these words. These were the lines that we worked on together. I was curious to see how it read for everyone else. Did everyone pretty much understand what she was trying to say when they were Spanish lines?
I think the Spanish lines are short enough that a non-Spanish speaking audience would get the tone of it. So we know exactly who Jack is and Charlene is and Knots are, and Remy too at the end of the show. So well done.
The end there, it's like a clincher. You want to come back.
I'm a huge fan of the ending, Greg. I'm a huge fan.
Glad.
It's definitely a, oh shit, what's going to happen now kind of issue, you know?
I wasn't with you, I don't believe, from the beginning of this. I came in as you were still creating the project and whatnot. As a director and a casting director, I just want to commend you on the way you brought this group of individuals together over time to read for these characters tonight. And you did an awesome job with that. And
the notes I've gotten are definitely going to be helpful for me, adding little moments on, so it's not like full on trying to like read.
Yeah, little moments.
Yeah.
Have a great
You guys have a
weekend,
good night.
everyone.
Great weekend.
Great weekend.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Y'all be safe now.
Later. It went well.
It was really good to be able to see the performance of the script itself. When you're reading it alone, it doesn't quite have the same feel as being able to experience the actual performance. A lot of the performance was really good, and bringing that dialogue to life gives it a completely different energy, and it makes me pretty excited to actually see this project come through fruition and actually get made, because I do think it could be something that stands right next to Sons of Anarchy and Justified, which are two of my favorite shows.
It felt like Justified meets True Detective, where it's very intense and we're dealing with some raw topics here. Characters do still have a little bit of a sense of humor, and it also has that kind of down-home country mafia type feel to it, where it's not organized crime in the sense of like New York or city organized crime. This is backwoods criminals, and that's got a certain flavor to it that adds something fun.
One thing you did really well, Greg, was the juxtaposition between the violence outside the house and the empathy inside the house. While Jack has been away, his wife has been working very hard, not only to help raise their kid, but also set up this restaurant that they're going to be running, hopefully in an effort to get away from some of the more criminal aspects of what's been going on around them, what they've been connected to in the past. I remember watching Sons of Anarchy, and the main character, I guess his kid gets stolen. There's nothing quite like the energy that comes from this guy was just about to have it all, and now we have to start from the bottom and fight all the way to the top again. And I can see a lot of those aspects, you know, deep within the script, just waiting to be mined and turned into diamonds, I guess.
I really liked the scene with Amy in the bordello. It made me cringe. It was very, very raw. And the most important thing about it was nothing was actually ever seen. It's all just through dialogue and them saying what they're going to do. And it really makes you like cringe up and kind of like really feel bad for this poor girl. This terrible thing is going to happen to her, and you know it is, and you're just like waiting for the other shoe to drop. That also then makes the scene when Jack and Graham find Amy all the more intense and all the more of like a relief, because you as the audience member are just like, oh, thank God she got taken out of that horrible situation.
It's some superior craftsmanship in writing, and I know for a fact how much work and effort it takes to get a script to that position.
I was very impressed with the amount of female characters, strong female characters too. Almost every single person surrounding your main character is a female, and they're all very strong in their own right. You have allies of his that are very strong, like his wife, and then you have the antagonists, which are also feminine but very despicable in their own way, and I thought that was really great.
It's just really good to see that these stories are going to be layered and textured, and they're going to be very different from one another, just simply with what the characters are feeling. And that opens up a massive world of possibilities as to where your stories can go and what your audience is going to get out of it. And a lot of times it's a struggle to balance the drama of the action and kind of the darker sides of what we're seeing, to balance that with
the empathetic part, to see characters that we care about, to see human beings that may have made mistakes, have done something wrong in the past, but we still want them to get better, and we still want them to readjust themselves so that they can be more of a guiding light to the other characters around them.
It all has a very strong sense of morality. The script has a very intense type of justice that is being served. And while things may not go well for our heroes at every turn, we do still have that feeling that the heroes, the good guys, will come out on top. And even though the bad guys will be despicable and they will do horrible things, they will eventually pay for those actions. But that doesn't mean that the pilot ends on a really happy note, because you gotta have that cliffhanger, and it's a great cliffhanger, and it keeps me interested, and it makes me wanting to come back for more.
One thing I noticed, I'm not sure if you wrote this in purposefully, but all of the major points of action happen in a house, somebody's house somewhere, even the whorehouse. What I found interesting about it is the Shakespearean quality. We're not always on the battlefield. We're not always in some shipping yard or some other, typical gangster setting. A lot of what's happening, especially because it's the pilot, is happening in the house, so that I think reflects to me what the story of Copperhead Connection is going to be about. Not just these characters, but as a whole, the series is showing us deep down where we hold things that are special. And I think each house represents something that's very special to each character. For Jack and Charlene, what happens in their house is they take in somebody who needs help, and then their privacy and the warmth of their affection gets violated by intruders, these people who break in looking for blood. So then this house has moved from representing perseverance in heart to perseverance in action, where Amy has to accept the fact that she's not fully out of the trouble that she was in. And now she even has to protect this infant, this toddler that's with her. So the house itself, it goes to reflect, I think, what Jack's whole family is going to be about, and that's doing the right thing. And we don't care where the line is drawn for that. We're going to do the right thing regardless, one way or another. And that shows when Jack and Graham go to Miss Kelly's place, the whorehouse. That house, it reflects what the owner holds dear, and that's profit through manipulation. And we go to another house of another gangster, and that very same thing is reflected in these characters. When you're in his house, you listen to what he says, you do as he says, and you don't offend him. And then someone comes in and usurps that throne and essentially says, I'm taking this from you, this is mine now. And that tells you exactly what's going to be going on underneath that roof. We're seeking power, we're seeking to restore a balance that we want, and we're willing to kill for it. It's a great representation for each of these three houses, the whorehouse, the criminal house, and the family house, to show really what we're going to be getting in this series and how the stories are going to play out.
It's very clear that each party has their own goals and their own interests. So that's really neat, because you have these 4 or 5 different groups of people that are all kind of converging due to this event, and they each have a different viewpoint on each other, and they each kind of want to get one over on the other person while also making sure they end up on top. There's a bit of a political element there, with everyone just kind of trying to make sure that they're on top, screwing everyone else, and taking care of their own.
I love seeing the difference of how brutal things can get in this world versus how warm they can get. The fact that they took in Amy after everything she had been through, simply on the thought of this person needs people right now. She has nothing else. It's good to see that moral compass is going to come through, and that this isn't just a battle between the authority figures and the criminals. That this is a story about people fighting to be good and not always being given the best chance at that. So when they do see an opportunity, they jump at it and they say, well, this is the right thing to do, and we're not going to back down from that, which is, I think, an invaluable trait to these characters.
The script has a very strong sense of family bonds, especially with your main character and his family. And then, of course, bringing Amy into the fold, having her come and live with them, that's an extra added element. You have an added daughter figure almost, and how the traditional family then is changed and how it adjusts to this new member. You also have the people in the bordello, and it's a business, but it feels very personal and intense, almost like it is like a family business. So you just have these different themes, these different elements of family that are being twisted and manipulated. Each team kind of has their own sense of family. I really like how the script is kind of playing off of that.
My only thought on the script itself, the character of Graham, I just wish I could understand more of what he's thinking and what he's feeling, especially toward the end of the script. Up to a certain point, we see him kind of be an echo to Jack. That's great. I love having the dynamic of knowing that there's somebody Jack can count on within this world that he kind of tries to keep Charlene away from and his family away from. But we don't get too much of their dynamic in this episode. It's more kind of like Jack is using a tool and Graham is that tool. I think maybe just 2 lines a little closer to the end to show that Graham is thinking about the effects of their actions as well. I guess something to just reflect kind of his place in this world. He's not just there because of Jack, he's there with Jack. So this is just my preference and my thought of if we just even had 1 or 2 lines that kind of showed us a glimpse inside his head of what he's thinking, what he's feeling during these events. I think it could just add to the overall impact to flesh that out a little bit more and have a little bit more dynamism within their interactions.
I know that the way it's all going to end is going to be very satisfying and maybe bittersweet, but I know that the right people will come out on top, and you can kind of have that, you get that sense of justice in this first episode. Really am hoping that this ends up getting made, because it could make a fantastic TV show.
I'm excited to see this project get put together and actually get on a screen where an audience can share the experience on a much wider basis than these Zoom calls. It's exciting, but it feels like if we could just round that corner into the next stage of this process, I think the train would work very smoothly. This project, I think, is ready to be made, and it's built properly so that it won't crack under the actual pressure once the ball gets rolling and we actually do set into production. So I'm really excited to see how this all comes together.
Overall, it was a very successful table read. With a few little tweaks, I think Greg is going to have a very nice script, and hopefully we can get this thing made soon. So in the future, I think maybe I'm going to be doing more voiceovers like this. It certainly is a lot simpler, and I truly hate seeing my own face, so that's so those are things that I'm considering, but I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do next week, but we will keep you posted. On your way out, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. We love hearing from you, and we want to know what you'd like to see. Well, anyway, it's getting pretty stuffy in this garage, so I'm going to get the fuck out of here. I hope you all have a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.